Buried in the rice fields of southern Vietnam, archaeologists found gold coins stamped with the faces of Roman emperors. They had traveled almost halfway around the world, to a kingdom that, today, has almost no name of its own. It was the first great civilization of Southeast Asia. It traded with Rome, with India, and with China. The mighty empire of Angkor would one day rise from its roots, and then it vanished so completely that we still do not know what its people called themselves, or even what language they spoke. This is the story of Funan. Our story begins nearly 2,000 years ago, in the vast wetlands of the Mekong Delta, a world of rivers, swamps, and endless water, where the land itself seemed to float. The people of Funan told a story about how their kingdom began. An Indian holy man named Candinya, it was said, dreamed that he should sail east and found a kingdom. He took a sacred bow from a temple and crossed the sea. When he reached this coast, he met its ruler, a warrior queen named Soma, daughter of the king of the Naga, the serpent spirits of the water. She sailed out to drive him away. Candinya raised his bow and loosed a single arrow that pierced her ship. Soma surrendered. The two were married, and from their union, the royal line of Funan was born. It is only a legend, but beneath it lies a deeper truth, the meeting of the local peoples of Southeast Asia with the civilization of distant India. For that is what happened here. The people of this delta, seafarers and rice farmers, took in the gifts that Indian traders carried, the Sanskrit language, the god Vishnu, and a new idea of sacred kingship. They built a civilization. Chinese travelers who arrived in the 3rd century recorded its existence and gave it the name we still use, Funan. To the Khmer, it would be remembered as Angkor Phnom, the mountain kingdom. Above all, it was a kingdom of water. Its capitals rose inland at Vietapura and later Angkor in what is now Cambodia. And on the coast in what is now Vietnam stood its glittering window onto the world, a port city called Ac Ao. And from those Chinese visitors, we catch our only real glimpse of what life in Funan was like. They described a land of walled cities and palaces, ruled by powerful kings, a people who lived in houses raised above the water, who kept books and archives in a script borrowed from India, and who paid their dues in gold, silver, pearls, and fragrant perfumes. Their justice could be strange and merciless. Guilt or innocence was sometimes settled by ordeal. A suspect thrown into crocodile-filled water and judged innocent only if the creatures left them untouched. To the Indian traders who came here, this rich kingdom had a name of its own, Suvarnabhumi, the land of gold. By the 3rd century, Funan had risen to the height of its power. Its greatest king was remembered in Chinese records as Fan Shiman. He built great ships, able to cross the open ocean, and with them he subdued more than 10 neighboring kingdoms, extending Funan's reach toward the Malay Peninsula and the edges of the Indian world. Yet this was no rigid empire with hard borders. It was something looser, a web of cities and chiefs drawn into the orbit of a powerful center, where local ways were left largely intact. But Funan's true genius was not conquest, it was water. Across the flat, flooded delta, its people dug a network of canals stretching more than 200 kilometers. These channels watered the rice fields, drained the swamps, and linked the inland capital to the sea, letting ships glide from the ocean deep into the heart of the kingdom. It was one of the great feats of engineering in the ancient world, a civilization that had learned to command the water itself. And at the end of those canals lay Ac Ao, one of the most cosmopolitan ports on Earth. Here, ships large enough to carry 100 men rode at anchor. Merchants from India, Persia, and China bargained in its markets. They came for the riches that flowed through the delta, gold and tin, fragrant aloes wood, ivory, rhinoceros horn, and the brilliant blue feathers of kingfishers prized as far away as China. And in the ground beneath this single delta town, archaeologists would later find astonishing evidence of its reach. Bronze mirrors from Han China, Buddha statues from the north, gold jewelry engraved with Sanskrit, and 2 gold coins stamped with the faces of the Roman emperors, Antoninus Pius and Marcus Aurelius. Coins from the Mediterranean in the mud of the Mekong. To this day, no one knows exactly how they made that journey, but they prove that, nearly 1,800 years ago, this forgotten kingdom was a crossroads of the world, the place where Rome reached toward China and China toward Rome. But the very thing that made Funan great also carried the seeds of its fall. Its wealth depended on the sea, on being the place where the trade routes met. And slowly, those routes began to move. New ports rose on the islands to the south, on Sumatra and beyond. Sailors learned to bypass the old delta harbors. The ships that had once crowded Akio grew fewer, and as the trade drained away, so did Funan's wealth and power. To the north, along the middle Mekong, lay a land that had once been Funan's own vassal, an early Khmer power the Chinese called Chenla. As Funan weakened, Chenla grew strong, and in time the vassal turned on its master. Around the year 550, a Chenla king named Bavavarman and his brother led their armies against Funan. Its kings were driven from their capital, fleeing south toward the coast, toward Okio, where the kingdom clung to life for a few more generations. But the end had come. By the early 7th century, Chenla had absorbed Funan entirely. The first kingdom of Southeast Asia, the kingdom that had traded with Rome, was conquered and swallowed by the very people who had once knelt before it. Its canals began to silt, its great port fell silent, and Funan slipped out of history into the mud of the Delta and into legend. Almost everything written about it came from the hands of foreigners. Chinese envoys describing a strange and distant land. The kingdom left few words of its own. We do not know for certain what language its people spoke. We do not even know what they called their own kingdom. The name Funan was given to them by others. The very identity of this civilization remains in large part a mystery still buried in the earth. It may never have been an empire at all. In a way, we picture one. No clean borders, no single crown, but a shifting web of cities and rivers bound together by trade and water. And yet, Funan did not truly vanish, because nearly everything that came after was built on what it began. The art, the gods, the sacred kingship, the mastery of water, all of it flowed northward and forward into the Khmer world. The mighty empire of Angkor, with its vast temples and reservoirs, grew from roots first planted here in this delta centuries before. In the year 877, a king of Angkor would take a queen descended from the royal lines of both Chenla and Funan, the old kingdom living on in the blood of the new. For more than 1,000 years, Funan lay forgotten beneath the rice fields, until in 1944, a French archaeologist began to dig at Akio and brought it back into the light. Today, its ruins are being put forward for recognition as a treasure of world heritage, a lost kingdom that belonged to no modern nation, for it rose long before them, on a land now shared by Cambodia and Vietnam. Its name is half forgotten, its language is lost, but its work outlived it. In the world it helped to build. Empires fall, people remain.